So it's finally the end of 2024. The running season has been pretty good. Not one of my best of all time, as we'll kind of get into it, but I wanted to kind of reflect on the end of 2024 and Q3 of things that went well and other things associated with that, as well as plans for 2025. And just wanted to also kind of bring up a special guest on the channel. Basically, for 10 years of running sort of seriously, as opposed to like on and off with school and, being in grade school and all that, my first ever real pair of running shoes. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. If you follow me on Instagram or Strava for all sorts of those updates, again, thank you, but that's a good place to find me as well. So yeah, lots of cool stuff to happen. So thanks again for supporting the channel, and yeah, let's get into it. First things first, I guess we'll get into what we have here, which is my first ever pair of running shoes. And as I mentioned, I think it's going to go into 2025, which 10 years ago, in 2015, was roughly where I started taking running predominantly seriously in my life. So in grade school, I was a pretty fast runner amongst like my class and in my school, to say the least. Not a brag, it just kind of was the reality. I played a lot of soccer, so that helped me get strong. I had unintentionally been working out by biking anywhere from 5 to 10 miles a day and then like eating tuna and crackers. And for some reason, that combination just made me really fast and strong and helped me build endurance. And I didn't even like think about these things. I couldn't conceptualize them in like, the 4th, 5th, 6th grade. It was like until I hit 7th or 8th grade when it was the first time I felt that I was out of shape, where I was like, whoa, like this fitness thing is kind of insane. And by the time I hit high school and I was in like weight training classes, I watched my diets, explode after training weights for the first time. And like, maybe you guys remember this, you can comment down below. In high school, we used to get Bosco sticks, which was like a breadstick filled with mozzarella cheese. And we'd always have a pack of 3 of them if you wanted to buy them for lunch. And before I was working out, I can only eat like barely one of those sticks. And then by the time I started weightlifting in high school and we were doing some more like team sport activities, I would eat like 2 packs of those. So I was eating 6 sticks, and I had no like complaints about that whatsoever. I was just like watching my body just kind of grow in that progression, and at that point I knew weightlifting was important, right? But it wasn't until midway through college when like things happened in life, work, relationships, the moments of self-actualization, where I kind of came back to running as a means of being just a fun activity, right? It was something I was going to use to balance with my music career, and lo and behold, we get to the Nike Flex Experience Run 2. We're talking, this is a 2, of course. This is an old model shoe, and we'll talk about this tag in a minute on it as well. But yeah, you can like look at this foam stack and you can see how far we've gone from this being kind of the standard marathon running shoe to what we have now. So if I like pull up, I guess, here we go, like the Asics Nova Blast 4s, right? Look at like how much foam we have on this shoe, and look how little we have on this one. You compare and contrast and you wonder like, wow, look how far we've gotten, right? And even as a runner, I kind of like to look at these, and just spec-wise, I'm not too sure what they are. This is hands down a mid-stack shoe. As you can tell, there's just not a whole lot of foam to begin with. I can imagine by just like looking at it without measuring it, we're probably at like somewhere between 4 to 6 millimeters in offset. Heel doesn't look too high. The forefoot definitely has not a lot, but a lot of this could have also shrank from all 400 to 500 miles that I must have put on in the year of 2015. It was really not a high mileage year, but it was just a good breaking year. You can tell by like looking at the outsole of the foam that I had started off as a runner with a lot of pronation issues. As you can see, the wear and tear is mostly on the pronated side of my shoe, and the anterior, which is the side we usually look at now, it has wear, but it's not nearly as choppy or as bad as the inside of the shoe, right? So My humble beginnings as a runner, if you're like a runner who struggles with overpronation or pronating things, and you're like, Phil, how do you fix this? It's like, don't worry, you will get there. You just got to keep running, be consistent, go to the gym, train your legs, leg days every day. You know how it is, and you'll get there. So this tag, as you can see, it's from the Rock and Roll Half Marathon Association, the race organization, I guess. Yeah, back in the day when I ran the half marathon in Chicago in 2015, there was like 20,000 or like 15,000 runners for this race, and one of the RFID things they had was the tag, right, on the shoes. So you guys might remember these. They're still kind of a thing. Like in the Chicago Triathlon, you'd get one around your ankle and whatnot. But we also had one on the shoe. We had one on the bib. So it was just an interesting piece that I never took off the shoe since I got it. I thought it was just like a badge of honor just to have like a tracking tag on your shoe. So I've just always had it, never took it off. Don't plan on taking it off. And yeah, that's just the run experience 2. Kind of the humble beginnings of running. And then we fast forward 10 years later, where the problems of 10 years ago seemed like they fleeted so far away, right? And now we're in this era of, hey, it's no longer about whether I can run a marathon. It's more of, I can run a marathon, just can we run it faster, right? And that's sort of the questions and things we get into today. So if you've been following this channel for a little while, you would know that my running in the season of every year typically follows kind of like the same pattern, right? Which is that in this particular month, it's considered an off season, and then leading into January, February, March, I'm beginning my training for a couple of races involving the Shamrock Shuffle, which you'll probably see on our 2025 list. And then it goes into some new additions like the Cooper River Bridge Run 10K, and then we also have the March Madness Half Marathon. That's also kind of leading before that, right? And before we get into the overall plan for 2025 and some of those goals and what I've done what's done differently, let's get into Q3 of 2024, which is kind of what happened at least 3 months ago to this day, as I'm filming sort of around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, right? We talked about some of these races, but I'm just going to go over them really briefly and then just kind of bring in some of the other things I've accomplished or have done in the course of this training block, just to kind of get you a little bit of insight into my life, right? Oh, I'm just burping. Sparkling water, am I right? We'll get into that one as well. So anyways, Mag Mile 10K, this was something I did in late, I would say, late September, or no, it was early September, and it was leading right into, it was like the last race I was planning on doing right before the Chicago Marathon. And the time was like 40 minutes and some seconds. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was just sort of a comeback from the race that ended my Q2, which was the Chicago Triathlon Crystal Lake Half Marathon, like a race block, which was supposed to be training into the Chicago Marathon, and unfortunately those training blocks failed at the time, as we discussed previously. Just bad fitness, bad nutrition. I got extremely sick during the Chicago Triathlon weekend. It was just probably my worst performance of all time. But going to the Mag Mile, it was like a confidence booster going back into the Chicago Marathon training season, where I had spent the next month just basically preparing for the Chicago Marathon. And you guys may know that in 2023, I didn't end up running the Chicago Marathon because, again, I got sick. I was not feeling good from a fitness standpoint. My morale was low. So I just said, instead of running this thing and just suffering all the way through, how about we just take a break? Because I've put like 8 of these in a row together, and it would just be better just to chill, right? For 1 year, I can take off, right? I know I took 2020 off because of, the lockdowns and all that, but I figured, fine, we could take 2023 off. It's no big deal. That being said, I ran like a 3:31, 3:32, something like that. It was not spectacular, but it was finally just kind of getting me back on track to breaking sub 3, which again is still a long goal on this channel to accomplish that. And there's times where I feel really good about it happening in 2025, and there's other times where I still think it's going to be a constant process. And I know there's people younger than me who have done really well to break sub 3 and then start accomplishing all the other bucket list goals in their life, but I don't know. I'm just a little bit slower at, maybe also a little bit stubborn at some of my marathon training goals. A lot of people just kind of figure out that formula quickly, and I sometimes think I get it figured out, and then things just kind of go sour later on, whether it's just poor training, I let my emotions get the best of me during a marathon, and I just like kind of lose focus. There's a lot of things there, but I think 2025, there's like there's an energy about it that's feeling good, which we'll get into that too, right? So following up after that, I think a week or two afterwards, I went to Orlando for some work items that I needed to take care of. And from there, I think it was a training session. That must have been what it was. So I was out there for a week for a class. And Orlando was fun. And immediately after I landed in Orlando, I was supposed to go pick up a packet for the Hot Chocolate 15K race in Chicago, which I didn't end up doing. I ended up like sleeping for 12 hours the night that I got back home from Orlando, just because you're jet lagged. You sleep in an environment that's not your bed, and you're in a different state, and it's just completely different, right? And it's not to say that Orlando was like weird or anything. It's just it's not your bed. You go back home and then you realize you got like a massive sleep deficit you're trying to recoup, and that's what ended up happening. So I said, all right, fine, I'm just not going to race this Hot Chocolate, but maybe I'll race in Houston in 2025, which is like less than a month from now. We'll see. So after that work session, it's kind of, again, back into turkey trot training season. It's the after boss fight post-game kind of situation, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And now I go to work in Denver for, again, a couple of days. Our team had an all-hands meeting. We got some things sorted out there. Gave me a chance to run in Denver for a couple of days, which Denver's cool. I liked running in Denver a lot. The area in Denver we were in was kind of sketchy, but it's okay. I've been in way worse. It's just something I noticed at that time. So we come back. It's Thanksgiving week, which means it's Turkey Trot week. So I do the North Shore Turkey Trot with the boys. And again, nothing spectacular from that performance. It was just good being back, able to race again and just feel good about running at a 10K at least. And one of my longer lasting races on my calendar, just had good performances overall, I would say. It was like maybe sub 40, sub 41 minutes. Nothing great. It was not 2019 effort. It was just stuff that was going in the right direction, right? So that same weekend, I took up a new race, which was like a Santa Shuffle 5K race in my local area out in Crystal Lake. And I didn't realize, this is where things get fun with the race. I took 4th place overall, okay? I didn't realize that it wasn't just like a time trial race. It was whoever crosses the line first wins the thing. Had I known that, I would have gotten to the front of the pack of the race and taken off with the guys in front rather than like start in the middle, kind of weave around for the first 3 minutes and then get in the front. Doesn't matter. I learned my lesson. I had a pretty bad performance. It was like a 20-minute 5K, so first of all, nothing to be proud of. Granted, the course itself had a lot of hills and a lot of twists and turns. It was a weird course, but I should have prepped better for it. That being said, just ending the year on a pretty piss-poor 5K was like fine. I didn't care at the end of the day, but it kind of gave me some optimism of like, hey, next year we can do better about this. You know what I mean? So now, that brings us to what's going on in 2025 as of right now. Kind of hard to see off the side here, but we'll try to be loud and kind of tell you what's going on. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, some of the Q1 goals still remain the same, which is a lot of this January, February training is going to be increasing volume. It's going to be increasing speed. So by the time I can get to the March Madness half marathon in March, I can get to the Shamrock Shuffle in Cooper River. I've got good fitness, good speed on hills, and I'm just able to start developing, better performances overall. That's That's all we're looking for as we get to this point in Q1, right? And then by Q2, this is where things kind of shift a little bit more into marathon training, maybe into triathlon or even Ironman training, depending on what the goals happen after that. I've got Tallahassee, Florida on the calendar because the boys and I are talking about going for a month at some period of time on this calendar, sometime before Memorial Day. And I just got it listed there because, again, training in that high humidity environment has fitness gains. So if there's going to be a cool vlog series that I could put together with the Tallahassee, Florida training like I did with Sarasota in 2021, I'm definitely going to add it. It'll be something fun to document and just see if, leading into Memorial Day, if that fitness that's built in Florida can translate to either the Soldier Field 10-miler in Chicago or Boulder, which is a new race I'm considering in Boulder, Colorado on Memorial Day, and we'll just see what happens, right? So as I mentioned last year, I wanted to do a new race every year with at least one race that's kind of out of state. And last year it was Cooper River. And I think I did another race that was out of state, and I don't even remember what it was now. Maybe it was only Cooper River Bridge Run. Dang, that sucks. But if 2025 plays the way I want it to, then Boulder is going to be that race. Anyways, that's cool. Then we get into a summer block, which I haven't quite gotten to figuring out. But, I mean, the Crystal Lake Half Marathon will be there. I think the Chicago Triathlon is going to be there. Am I missing anything else? There'll be a few other, like, smaller races, but that summer is going to be extremely important when it comes to the Chicago Marathon training block, as I do plan on running the sub-3 once and for all, maybe even trying to get to sub-255. Why go to the moon when we can go to Mars kind of scenario for the Chicago Marathon, which I'm officially signed up for. And the question there is, why am I not signed up for any other marathons? It's simply because I missed the cutoff for the lottery for Tokyo. I did not get into Berlin. I tried to. I missed the cutoff for New York. And I think those are the only ones I applied for. London, I couldn't get in either. But in a month, I think I'm able to apply for New York 2025's lottery. So we may give that a spin and just see if we can get more than one marathon on the calendar. And, just get the sub-3 figured out once and for all, And then Boston 2026, maybe 2027, maybe. I'm thinking big here. Because obviously, I'm going to the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028, right? We're just kicking off the season with a sub-3 Chicago Marathon. And once you get the sub-3, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to have a stone-cold stellar performance in the Olympics 3 years after that marathon, right? I'm going to go from sub-3 to sub-218. Just you watch. It's going to be sick. My bosses probably won't be happy with that goal, but that's okay. It's all fun and games. I don't think that'll happen. Unless it does. It's okay. Whatever. Cool. Fun jokes. That's kind of where we're at when it goes to 2024, 2025. A lot of you guys might not totally care about a lot of this, but I'm sure some of you have like your calendars and you're planning things out. Or maybe you're a runner and you're just kind of directionless and you just kind of don't plan this far ahead with your race schedule, or you don't have like a big A race. This is just me kind of showcasing that, like, having that A race plan, or if it's planned, and then you can take the results of that and plan accordingly to the next 2 to 3 years as a result, it's kind of a good thing, right? And it just keeps you waking up, getting out of the door every day for that next run, for that next workout, for that next long run, because running is a hard sport for a lot of people. For some of us, you're just disciplined to do it no matter what the weather, no matter how you feel. It just is what it is, right? And running is just such a crucial part of my life at this point that not having a big running goal would be almost confusing, I think, to my body. And you can comment down below if you agree or disagree with that. But yeah, it's there's a lot of things there, and I like planning my year around racing and running because it is just such an important thing to my life at this period of time in my life, which I hope will be forever, because your fitness and your health are absolutely crucial to everything else around you, right? Taking care of your things like your spine and, moving around, making sure the fluids that are of the engine, which is your spine, constantly move so you don't run into back issues, back pain, things like that. Just the movement, just the cardiovascular health. Like, these things are just super important, and that's why I can't imagine not having running be part of my yearly planning, like moving forward until like the day that my legs just get shredded from running on the ground. You know what I mean? And I think I'll leave this rant at that. Again, let me know if you got any cool plans for racing in 2025, what your goals are. If you think anything here could be better, if you have some marathon training tips that I might be missing out on, let me know in the comments as well. But I think we'll leave it at that. We're just having a good time. There's a lot of good energy, a lot of good things that I'll discuss in future videos as to what I'm doing differently in 2025 from every spectrum of running. And I'll explain that as we get there, because running is not just a running thing, right? We all know that. But I think we'll leave it at that. So if you stuck around to the end, tell me your favorite pizza ingredient so we confuse everyone in the comments. And then say, thank you, Jeff, as well. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And Happy New Year. Happy end of 2024. Let's get into 2025 bigly. All right? Thanks again. I'll see you guys later.
I think. He just took a turn early, that's all. And now everyone's gonna be oops.